Thank you, anybody watching this on YouTube or listening via podcast. My name is Brett Homer, and I'm the owner of What's Next Baseball Consulting. And today we have a friend of mine, Zach Leal, on as our podcast guest. I met Zach through the PFA facility that Dave Coggin owns out in the Inland Empire. And Zach's kind of been my trusted go-to PT. Has helped a lot of my guys and always can give me some great insightful information when it comes to strength and conditioning, staying healthy, and also just incredible background when it comes to baseball and at a high level. So Zach, I won't talk anymore, but just you can go ahead and introduce yourself and give me a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Always fun to talk shop on stuff like this and see what comes out of it. It's always cool. So yeah, I mean, pretty quick snapshot. Grew up playing baseball, 20 years type thing. Always wanted to go to PT school or work with athletes, kind of on the rehab side of things if I wasn't going to play professional baseball. So that was kind of what I was going to do. So every decision I've made probably over the last, 15, 20 years has been able to do as such. So started working out, been a part of a lot of different training programs over the years. The PFA thing kind of is fun because I've been a part of this program at some capacity since 2008 or 9. So we're going on 15 plus years there. So as I kind of got involved, got invested as far as my time was concerned, then I talked to Dave about it. I was just like, hey, I want to open up a PT clinic inside of the gym. He kind of looked at me and was like, okay, cool. And I was like, well, I'm going to need about 10 years for me to do it. And he's like, okay, feel free. So here we are, and we've been running about 5 years now. So it's been fun. So, but yeah, I mean, baseball has brought me all over the country. It's brought me into a lot of different places, my education too. So just triaging my experiences across the board has been, I think, a pretty insightful reason on why I've been able to, I would say, start the business how I have, and we continue to progress and get better. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. We can go into obviously a little bit more specifics, but undergrad PT school and all that type of stuff. But basically, long story short is I grew up playing baseball, do baseball, I treat baseball. I don't really think there's too many people out there that can have the similar conversation that I can on a day-to-day basis with the patient of what they're going through, how they're getting back, what is the next steps, and what to do about it if something goes wrong.
Very nice. And I think one of the funniest things I know we've talked about before is how we were both at the same Georgia Clemson game. I was
Yeah.
at Georgia as a journalism student. You were in the dugout with Clemson, and we
Yeah.
both saw possibly the longest home run of our lives.
It's one of the crazier stories just in general, because I don't really think people can grasp their head around. And at this point in time, which it'll make more sense once I get into a little bit more of the story, but like at the time, it's like I've seen Major League Baseball players and trained with guys. Like I knew talent, like, and I got guys, like I figured it out. Not all of it figured it out, but like I knew what was going on. So that would have been January of 2016, we had this kid show up, like basically skips his senior year of high school and was like, hey, I'm going to go play for the ACC team. And at the time we were ranked. So it's like, you don't just like leave high school to go play. Anyways, this guy just proceeds to just not touch the ball for a month. So all of January, can't touch the ball. Then proceeds to not get out from the end of January until about May. Like did not get out. He was hitting north of 400 in the ACC. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I think he's still playing baseball now, but this was Seth Beer. So if anybody's looking to go find this home run, it's on YouTube. I've definitely seen it. But yeah, I was sitting in the bullpen actually, because I think it was like a 13 or 14 inning game. At this point in time, I think it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Nobody was scoring, or I can't remember necessarily what was happening. But yeah, I mean, he hit the furthest ball I've ever seen hit. And if anybody's been to Athens, there's a hill in right field that basically just like goes up probably about 150 feet maybe. And he hit about halfway up that hill over the scoreboard. So yeah, and then apparently we were both at the same game, so which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I just remember the pitch before he hit a foul ball on the first baseline. And I was like, that is the highest pop-up I've ever seen in my life. Please, God, don't throw him down the middle. And then sure enough, next pitch, ball's still going up over the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely one of the furthest balls I've ever seen in person, no doubt.
Yeah. But anyways, let's kind of circle back to PT and just some common injury things. I think this time of the year, mid-season, we're starting to see the guys that have taken care of themselves are staying healthy, and the guys that didn't quite prepare for the season right are starting to get hurt. What are some common things that you're seeing, at least at the amateur level, that are popping up consistently right now this time of year?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how I want to answer this. If I get a little wild, just ring me back in. But where I kind of see some of the stuff that's happening now, it's like I look at it as like you haven't done anything about it for the last probably 8 to 12 months. So what I mean by that, especially in Southern California baseball, is that there's always baseball, there's always tournaments, there's always teams, there's always high school stuff, travel ball, whatever it is. So the kids that I tend to see that are pretty successful in the spring season. So for instance, I don't even know, last week of March, first week of April, the kids that are doing well and kind of continue to progress and all that type of stuff is like those are the kids that are in the gym in February. Those are the kids that are in the gym in August. Those are the kids that are in the gym in November, where they know that they have to take care of what they need to take care of in order to be successful. So where I get kids on my table is one of the first conversations that I have is like, okay, like what's your workout routine like? What's your system like? What's that look like? The kids that tend to end up on my table either have nothing in place or it's, I don't want to say misguided because I will never talk badly about another trainer or another PT or anything in that regard, but it's more the fact that like they don't have any direction. So they're like, oh yeah, like I'm just in my high school weight room 2 days a week. It's like, okay, no direction, got it. Oh, I just work out with my buddies at LA Fitness. Okay, cool, no direction, got it. Oh, I don't really do much just because my coach or my team doesn't really have us do too much. Okay, got it. So it's more of like it's a death by a thousand paper cuts situation currently in the April. Obviously, we can kind of go into some clinical stuff, what I see over a calendar year, because it all kind of it changes a little bit as far as like being in season versus summer versus fall. The injuries tend to be a little bit different, but as far as like overall on an overall arching basis of what I see most kids is like they're dealing with injuries now in the middle of the season that probably started in August, September, October, or even previously into the year prior. So it's like, again, I have a couple kids right now where we've had growth plate issues where I'm their third PT that they've seen. They've been in an ortho clinic for the last 2 years and nothing's getting better. And it's like, okay, well, they're probably not necessarily, yeah, they're addressing the arm, I get it, but they're also not necessarily addressing what they need to address from the whole package perspective. So I would say that's kind of what I'm seeing currently is just a lot of these kids just having just funky injuries in the sense of it could be a lot to be addressed so that if they actually take care of their body in the sense of the level of incidence of what they're asking their body to do, right? Because every baseball player in high school now is a professional baseball player. They're all playing 100 plus games a year. They're all doing the stuff without many breaks. So yeah, it's accumulation of a lot of different things, I would say. But I mean, majority of it's going to be shoulder and elbow for sure of what I'm seeing currently. I would say, I mean, I have a lot more backs right now, and I think that's kind of just indicative of just the incidence of volume in the middle of the season, which then just kind of leads us right into summer, which then leads us right into next fall. So I would say that's kind of like my biggest thing that I'm seeing is that there aren't baseball players that are willing to get off the rat reel for just a couple of months to kind of get back and get what they need to do and understand the fundamentals and foundations, what they need for their body to be successful.
That's awesome. That's a great way of saying it. So I guess to me, a lot of that seems like kids are not strong enough or also not built up enough to handle a season workload, right? Does that sound about right?
Uh, yeah, it's not wrong. I would just like to add another option there where it's just they're asking their body too much for what they have built up. So it's like you can build up a guy, right? So it's like if they can tolerate, let's say, 4 games a week and they can throw 20 pitches in each game and they tend to sit 81, 82, awesome. But every kid now is trying to find 84, 85. Cool. Like that's a discrepancy. So how fast your body registers that discrepancy is a little bit different per kid. Or vice versa, as the kids that tend to throw 81, 82 and they sit 79, 81, cool, you're at a little bit lighter of a threshold. So your body, you're not maxing out every single throw. We can obviously get into the argument around like current TrackMan data and what people are trying to focus on so much. Like there's a lot of stuff there, don't get me wrong. But I would just say is that it's a stress intolerance issue just across the board. That's what an injury is. It's just your body's taking too much stress for what you can handle. So is it a strength thing? Sometimes, yeah, maybe. Is it a built up like, hey, they're going from a 6-week break period into, oh, I'm thrown in the game and then a bullpen a week later? Yeah, possibly. Is it a little bit of both? More than likely. But I would say overall, from my perspective, it's more the fact is that they're trying to reach in a bucket that is not as deep as they think it is.
Gotcha. Okay. You hit something that's really interesting that I've heard a couple times too. That break period. Like you were talking about going off a 6 week break and then jumping back in. I know spring break is coming up for a lot of kids, and I've heard some programs go cold. They're not going to be doing anything. What should those kids be doing? Is a week off completely a little dangerous this time of year?
No, I would say if anything, it's probably beneficial. So first thing off, I would just say there are, I mean, the programs that are going completely cold for a week are the minority. I will say that for sure. Every high school now has some sort of tournament. They're going to Vegas. They're going to insert whatever tournament. Cool. Do I think it's bad to take a week off in the middle of March, April? No, I don't. Under the assumption that they've been playing baseball pretty much nonstop since October. Most fall programs pick up in October and then they pretty much just ride out until May. So at that point, is like taking a week off. I look at that as like, yeah, just go away for vacation, do whatever you got to do, take the 4 days off. Like that's not that big of a deal to me. The kids that are taking the week off because their arm is hanging, they're making sure they're trying to find things, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. Like that's where I kind of think it could turn into a dangerous thing. Because again, it's like the kids that actually are trying to take a break for whatever reason probably aren't actually taking a break. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to throw bullpens. So then I'm going to long toss 5 days a week to try to get my arm built up for the next half or whatever it is, right? I'm obviously speaking a lot of hyperbole here, but what I'm getting at is that like 5 days off from not throwing is the least of my worries. If anything, probably more kids probably need to do it. It's more the fact it's just that they're not knowing what to do with that extra time.
Okay. So what should they be doing in that extra time?
That's the other thing is like I think that the kids that are like if they're lost and they don't know what to do with the week off, like that's almost more alarming to me. Because again, it's like now every kid has a pitching coach or a trainer or somebody like me, or if they're inside of a high school program or whatever. If there isn't some sort of direction, that'd be like, I don't want to say like red flag, but that would be more the fact it's like, it's okay to take a week off. Like, it is okay to walk away from baseball for a period of time, like go to the beach, go skiing, obviously within reason. Like, I don't need you doing a bunch of backflips or something like that, but it's like, it's okay to detach a little bit. Like, if anything, it's probably going to be doing you more good than anything. So but that also comes down to is like, what have you built up to this point, right? So it's like you have these kids that are working super diligently and they were doing all the right things. And the family's like, hey, we're going to take 4 days to go to the beach. Awesome. Go enjoy it. Go have fun. Throw the football around, hang out with the family, detach a little bit. For the kids that are like just trying to use this week to basically run away from an injury, or they are, oh, like I haven't already done anything, so then I'm just going to take a week off because I haven't already done anything. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, every situational, or every situation is situational, excuse me. But I would say majority of the kids at this time of year, if they're taking a week off from throwing, I'm not really worried about it whatsoever. It's more the fact it's just, can you plan for it? Or can you reverse engineer it? Like where you're looking at a year-long calendar, like, okay, hey, I'm going to take this week off in spring break because it's a perfect time for me to not throw. It's like, cool. And that's a little bit more of a strategic break versus just oh, I'm just going to kind of use it as whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. So when they come back after a week off, do you think they can just hop right back into it, or is there some sort of little bit of an on ramp?
I don't think so. Again, this is like, again, every situation is situational, but I would say like if we're going off of your high school starter, your 1A, 1B, maybe 1C guy, because now high schools are kind of rolling in three different starters. Cool. So I would say like, hey, if you know you've been throwing 4 days a week, you're in a game 1 day a week, you've been throwing 6 innings a piece or 4 innings every game or whatever that is, you taking 4 days off to not throw is going to do like nothing other than positive, right? Because you're going to downregulate the nervous system a little bit. You're going to walk away. You're probably going to get more sleep. That there's nothing negative that's going to come from that. So like I would just say like, hey, like I would like to reverse engineer it a little bit to the point where your first game throwing is not in a game. That would be ideal. So that's where, again, like having some sort of concept around like, if I'm going to take this week off, then I need to know what this is and what it looks like so that then I can kind of like time things up accordingly again. But in most cases, there isn't a kid that's going to take a week off and going into their first game or their first time being back on campus on that Monday is going to be a game that day. Obviously, if that's the case, then probably taking a whole week off probably wouldn't be the best idea. You probably need to take 5 days off so then you can throw like one day and then you can do some other stuff. So that would be what I would say at least.
Nice. Awesome. So I guess you've been in this now, you said almost 15 years with PFA. What is the biggest difference that you've seen with amateur baseball 10 years ago versus today?
I would say the apprehension to weightlifting, especially in season. And I would say the apprehension to a weightlifting program outside of a high school situation. I would say that's my number one. Obviously, I'm a little biased there, but at the same time, too, there are some kids that understand that this is what they need to do. And those are the kids that are successful. Those are the kids that are throwing the 90-91 at every high school showcase or whatever. So I would say that's like my biggest thing that I'm starting to notice. But at the same, on the flip side of that, and there's never been more gyms. There's never been more media, for the lack of a better word, around workout programs. There's never been more, there hasn't been this much social media around like, oh yeah, like I'm going to the gym this many days, or I'm working out at this facility, or I'm doing that. So I think it's a little bit of both. I don't know if it's necessarily changed, or maybe I'm just getting more seasoned to the idea, just because as I get older, as I get more attached or more detached away from the situation, then I'm just looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, like these kids are in it, these kids aren't. Cool. I would say that's the biggest thing. Obviously, too, just the insert of technology is going to probably be the biggest thing, just because, like, again, every baseball stadium now has TrackMan and Velo and Game Changer and all this other stuff, where it's just such a data-driven world, which is probably for the marginal better. Don't get me wrong, for definitely the 1% of the 1%. So I would say for the masses, it's definitely that's going to be more accessible. Excuse me. Is that necessarily a negative? No, it's not. It's just, again, what is the reasoning behind it? And like, why are we doing it? I think is where people get caught up. So I guess those would be like my two biggest things, is that just kids are just underwhelming. The marginal players are underwhelming their body too much, and they're trying to focus on all the wrong things in regards to, like, quote unquote, and added inserts of technology.
Yeah, I know with that added technology, it seems like the standard and bar keeps getting
Oh,
raised.
it'll just continue to go up and to the right. And that's the other thing, is like baseball's not going to stop it. It's a natural selection thing right now. And I don't think it never hasn't been. Like, obviously, that's why scouts exist, is because their job is to go try to find the best baseball player. So like the sport is ultimate natural selection. And I totally get that. But at the same time, too, it's like asking all these kids to throw 90-91 as a sophomore in high school. Like 10 years ago, that was unheard of. Now you have guys throwing 100. So it's like, when does it stop? Don't know. No idea. But I would say that that's definitely the added external pressure and validation around performance is definitely going to be something that we're going to have to monitor over the next 10 to 15 years for sure, just because the ramifications of that are just going to be more and more orthopedic intervention.
Yeah, I remember like when I worked in the Dominican Republic, I asked our international director, why didn't we ever sign the 16-year-old that was throwing 100 in the DR? And I remember him straight up saying, we have never seen this last. Either they blow out, it's a fake birth certificate, or they're on something. And those guys just never panned out. Do you think that a lot of these guys that are pushing velo too soon for their body are going to fall into that kind of trap that they were observing in Latin America?
I would like to say yes. Obviously, I'm not diving into the numbers and the data as much as I probably should to answer this question with some authority, but like what I'll just give more of my opinion is, if you go back and look over the last 15, 20 years, excuse me, the amount of guys that get drafted that are high school arms that are right-handed that make the big leagues is like, I want to say it's less than 5%. Like, it's low. I don't, like, obviously don't quote me on that number, but like, I know it's low. Cool. So now all the guys that are making the big leagues are trending more towards guys that have been to a 4-year college program. Okay. So that kind of takes out that the are you going to last situation to a degree. So you're a little bit more you're a little bit more versatile, whatever the case may be. So that's like what I would kind of say from like the draft arm perspective for sure. Where I would also want to go on that is like, doesn't necessarily scare me that a kid like, and I'm not going to name drop him, I don't mean this negatively, but like a kid like Seth Hernandez, just because it's like, okay, hey, he's the most notable guy. And he just blew up social media the other day because he threw 102. Like, that kid's 19 years old. It's like, okay, cool. I don't know what's going to happen with his career. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to make the big leagues, would be my guess. Probably going to throw pretty hard, would be my guess. He's not this super jacked dude. Cool. He's still pretty strong because I know he works out. So it's like, are we going to see more and more of those guys? I would assume yes. Do we see more and more of those guys not make the big leagues? I would assume also yes, just because there's going to be more of them. So again, I don't know what the exact data would be, but I would say I would be weary if I was a GM to get a kid that's 16 years old throwing 100 miles an hour and is a PO. That would be, I would probably say that would be considered a mild red flag for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember it seemed like the philosophy that I was taught was if you see that, we're not going to pay money for it. It's like maybe someone else will, but we're not going to spend $1 million on a risk like that.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Yeah. So like I would rather, and especially what I've seen in college when I was at Clemson working for them, I mean, saw Jordan Montgomery, we saw Carlos Rodon, like we saw, I mean, even on the Clemson staff, we had 4 or 5 guys that broke through the big leagues. And like a lot of them, the guys that broke were not the guys that you thought. Like they were kind of like these guys that kind of just like did their thing and they were really good at what they did. And yeah, so it's like we saw the guys that like I think the guys that tend to be really successful and get the second contract in the big leagues are the guys that are understanding how to manipulate their bodies to be successful, not just throw as hard as they possibly can.
It's more of a longevity outlook instead of just get it now.
I would have to say so, yes. Yeah, I mean, I would just have to say so because, like, again, it's like all those guys are the Friday night guys on a 3-year program and they're doing all that. It's like those are the guys that are successful. I mean, look at Paul Skeens. Like, yeah, like he's a freak, but it's also like he didn't pitch for a period of time and he's a catcher and he did a lot of other stuff. But he still went to a 4-year college and he still got drafted out of there and he's still the Friday night guy. He threw for a whole year. He's had all the innings. He had all this stuff. It hasn't really changed the guys that have been successful over the last 10 plus years in the big leagues. The guys that are getting that second under the contract, those are the guys that have the capacity to throw the 250 innings. It's just that's not what baseball is asking them to do. But I bet you if you ask them, they probably could.
Very nice. Very nice. And I guess pivoting on that and the way we train, like something we talked about this earlier, that it's maybe not the best idea to look at outlier guys. Like I've been hearing, at least with some high school kids now, especially in the Los Angeles area, Yamamoto's the big name, and hearing people want to stray away maybe from strength and conditioning, but feel that maybe flexibility and mobility are more the key, and maybe not putting as big an emphasis on strength because they're using Yamamoto as an example. What do you think of that kind of logic and thought process?
Yeah, I think it's wildly short-sighted for a couple of different reasons. And this is not me just like kind of going on a soapbox, just like badmouth Yamamoto. Obviously don't know him. I don't know anything really much about him. I know he throws hard. Cool. So I will say this. I'll start off this argument where he's one of one. He's the last guy that I can think of that was anywhere near him would have been Pedro. So the guy that's below 5'10", below 180 pounds, going above 95. If you look at those numbers across the board, I think he might be the only person on the planet doing that. So cool. We're already going to take a 1% of a 1% of a 1% situation and then try to then boil it down even more to like, oh yeah, this is one outlier of the guy. Cool. Here's the other thing. He's also been playing professional baseball for north of 10 years, from my understanding. If I have that wrong, I apologize. But from my understanding is that he was a professional baseball player in Japan for a long period of time. So now you're taking time away from where he's not doing school and he's not doing a job. His job is to be a professional athlete. He has a lot of resources, he has a lot of talent, and he has the work ethic in order to then curate his body for it to manipulate how he wants it to manipulate. So that's one thing. So again, it's like the kid that's 16 years old that's walking in and saying like, oh, I don't want to work out because I'm not or I want to be like Yamamoto. It's like, okay, like that's already off the table because you're not even in the same conversation. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that he's also pretty developed as a human being. So all because he's working on mobility and flexibility now, it doesn't mean that he's spent time building up strength over time either. So he's probably spent most of his life in some sort of gym capacity, whether that's strength training, whether that's body weight movements, whatever that is that there is an inherent amount of strength in order to stabilize the joints in 3 dimensions and have enough capacity in order to be able to move through the position that he wants when he wants. That is a skill. So how I look at the gym is that that's what the gym is. It's a macro and micro ability to magnify your ability to control your body with external stress. And what I mean by external stress is like whether it's external load or conditioning or insert whatever it is. The people that can do that really, really well inside of the gym tend to be really good athletes. Really good athletes tend to be the ones that would be on the field. The ones that be on the field tend to be the one that get paid. So it's kind of more that fact. It's like if I have a 16-year-old kid that can't move, super sloppy, bad arm path, bad this, bad that, more than likely they're probably even worse in the gym. So using that as an argument, I think, is a massive fallacy. That's one thing. Second thing is that like when we recorded this is like a kind of a tangent, but it kind of makes sense and applies to the situation slightly, is the internet went bonkers because they saw Patrick Mahomes throwing 2.5, 3 months after ACL surgery on his plant leg. It's like, yeah, but you also didn't see the 6 hours of rehab every single day for 3 months. You haven't seen all the doctors and the physicians and the PTs and the trainers and his people all having this conversation every day for the last 3 months. You haven't seen all the other stuff that he's been doing in order to make sure that this is happening. It's also like, it's not high strength throwing. You're just throwing a football just because he's trying to get the reps back in. So again, it's like, this can be controversial. It's like, it's a very stupid argument. So going back to this Yamamoto thing, like I think it's a very stupid argument. Do I think it's a bad argument? No. But at the same time too, it's like you missed the last 20 years of his life that has gotten him to this point where now he just needs to be able to maintain and make sure that he's prepared in order to throw a baseball day in and day out at his ultimate capacity. And what he's found over years is this is what works for me currently. And it might not be the case once he gets older. Who knows? That's the other thing. It's like everybody's looking at it on like the last 6 months, just because now you're getting exposed to him over the last 6 months. It's like you don't know what he's doing for the last 10 years because I'm pretty sure you weren't living with him in Japan when he was working out. So, sorry, soapbox.
No, you're good. That's a good answer. I think especially what drives that kind of argument I could see from other people is they see his World Series performance, see how he's not just able to do well in a couple games, but just come back and pitch on short rest. Like, what do you think of what that actually tells us about him as an athlete and how built up he is?
Oh, I can't even, I don't even think we're able to even rationalize that freak of a situation. Obviously, like it's happened in the past. CC Sabathia comes to mind when he had that run with the Brewers where he was like basically throwing every third day for a month. It's like, okay, cool. You could probably make the argument with Kershaw a few weeks or a few years back. He was doing that every so often too. You had a couple guys that would start games and close games. Like there's been some times of that. But I'm also thinking again, it's like the dude is older and he's just way more developed at that point. And like I want to kind of go back to that question that we were just talking about here in a second. And I'm like, as a 16-year-old kid, I'm just thinking like what your future, like let's just say everything works out to the best of your ability. You go to high school, you go to college, you play for 3 years, you're the Friday night starter, you do this, you do that, you get drafted, you make the big leagues. I would love to see that kid go up to, because at that point, you'll probably come across anywhere from 4 to 6 different organizations, give or take, on average. I would love for somebody to go up to each one of those organizations and say, yeah, like I'm not going to work out because I want to be like Yamamoto. I would love to see how that works out. Talk to your strength coach at 6 a.m. in college. Talk to your strength coach that works at every single level through professional baseball. Talk to the 15-year starter that's on that baseball team that's then going to basically tell you like that doesn't work here. So it's just I can't even comprehend this concept. But same time too, it's like again, it's that he's one of one. There's not many of those guys on the face of the planet. And again, it goes into his regimen and what he's done over the last 10 years is what you're seeing. It's going back to that Messi quote, right? So it's like if you go back to, he was saying, he's like, yeah, it took me 17 years to become an overnight success. Same concept here.
I guess going back to that, you hit something funny to me that you're like trying to explain that to your college strength and conditioning coach. Like, what would that have gone over at Clemson? And comparing like what was Clemson's workload? Because back then they were a top 25 team. Like, what are they doing in the gym? Like always.
And Rick. So Rick, he's the same strength coach that's there now. He was there when I was there. So dude knows the stuff, and the dude like works his tail off in order to like be up to date on the best research, what's out there. He collaborates with a lot of baseball strength and conditioning people. Like he's in top shape when it comes to access, and his ultimate goal is to get guys to perform on the field. I like truly believe that. But he also catered the workout programs in order to be successful, where he had pitchers doing certain things, infielders were doing certain things. Some guys did this, some guys did that. If the guys had anatomical differences, he tried to do the best that he can and doing all that. So like there's so much stuff that goes into that, to the point where it's, yeah, like what I saw, if you told Rick that I'm not going to work out because I'm going to do this or that, like I can't even like comprehend probably what would have happened, to be honest. Like, and I'm not saying anything bad, like he wouldn't like kick you off the team or anything like that, but like it wouldn't go over. So and it's, again, it's such a short-sighted argument, to the point where it's just, to me, it comes across as like a lack of effort. Just kind of like, yeah, that's to be the only way that I'd be able to kind of round out that concept without beating a dead horse again. But I just think it's a lack of effort.
Yeah, gotcha. Very nice. Yeah, I just couldn't imagine any strength coach responding to that argument very well.
No, oh God, no. Not to mention, again, it's like there's strength coaches in professional baseball. There's strength coaches like all the way up through and through, and there's trainers. And I mean, man, I would love to have somebody like try to talk and convince your agent to like whatever it is. Like it's such a short-sighted argument for many different reasons that I just don't see that argument even being relevant, to be honest with you.
Very nice. Okay, so I guess the last thing I kind of want to ask you is there anything that you've seen or heard recently that has really sparked your interest? Like I know you went down, was it to Alabama for the ASMI? Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything there that was really interesting to you that you think you're going to try to dive into a little bit more?
I wouldn't say anything like overly, well, I take it back. I ended up meeting one of the head medical advisors for the Chicago Cubs, and we were chatting about throwing programs. And I'm not going to divulge too many details because I don't think it's necessarily my place to speak on it. But what I'm getting at, and I can kind of just dive in a little bit, is that they have a very interesting viewpoint on throwing programs. And I'm curious and I'm interested to see what comes out of it over the next probably 3 to 5 years. They do things different than I've ever thought about a throwing program, how any program should be curated. It's wildly impressive on how they're going about it. So I would say if somebody is interested of kind of like, again, it's not my details to divulge, and I don't know if there was a confident situation. So unfortunately, I just can't really speak on it. But that would be something where I would want to kind of keep my eye out on guys for the Cubs over the next couple of years. Just like if they have injuries, if they don't, if they tend to like perform really well or perform well longer, that I'm going to be super curious about. So that was like one thing for sure that I came out of it just like, man, I don't think anybody really has a really good answer to what guys should be doing from a throwing program perspective. Obviously, we have 120 years of data of like guys pretty much have thrown pretty consistently over an 8-month period, and it has tend to work out pretty well. I hear that. But now it's just like how hard guys are throwing now and how firm they're throwing and how consistent they have to throw. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case anymore. So that would be like the first thing. Second thing that I'm kind of like diving into very, very lightly, not enough nearly to what it needs to be for sure, is the concept around intra oh my gosh, I'm like blanking on the term. It's basically the sternal angle. So like your rib, where your rib cage attaches, there's some mild research and stuff kind of coming around the idea around how like the angle of your rib cage indicates on how you produce and move force and do all a bunch of different things. Like that's going to be where I think my next dive will be into. But it's not enough for me to solidify any like certain thoughts or concepts around that. But that'll be something I'm looking into over time. And again, I got introduced to the whole the aerial mover versus the non-aerial mover and all that type of stuff. So I think that's kind of where I'm starting to see a lot more people kind of bring those concepts around just based off of how motor preferences are working. I've always been a very firm believer in my office that I think the brain dictates and governs a lot more than we give it credit for. I don't think it's necessarily just at the muscular level. I think it's more at the nervous system level. So I would say that's going to be what I'm excited to kind of see over the next couple of years.
Nice. Very nice. Have you thought about like what that means, like as far as how we identify it, or how you might utilize that in your practice?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be more on the rehab side of things because like what I'm working on is like it tends to be at the joint level or at the muscular level where there's either a strain or a weakness or something else like that. So it's like I have to kind of build up the body in order to get to a certain threshold. I don't think that'll necessarily change my thought process of like, oh, if this person has a narrow infrasternal angle, that'll then dictate, oh, they're going to do less exercise versus more exercise. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it'll be more on the continuation of the performance side of things of like, okay, is this person going to benefit more from a deadlift or is it going to benefit more from a lunge? I think that's where things are going to start to change a little bit more as far as like my thought process on programming and continuation in your performance. But yeah, on the rehab side of things, I don't think it's necessarily going to change much, at least of my thought process. But I definitely want to be versed enough to at least just have the ability to have a conversation with somebody that walks in my office like, okay, hey, like you should probably be doing this or doing that or whatever that case may be.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all I've got for you today, Zach. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
This was
dude.
awesome. Is there anything
Yeah,
else
man.
that has come up, or you're like, nah, I'm tapped out?
No, I don't necessarily think more. I'm excited. Obviously, I'm trying to continue to ask you questions around what we see data wise because we always tend to have some fun conversations around like pitch selection and stuff like that. And again, not trying to gas myself up, but I feel like I have enough of a wherewithal to at least have a conversation where I don't think there's probably many people in my position that can at least have conversations around that with people like you that know what you're talking about. So I think that's where I'm excited to continue to just learn more from you because I think it'll help some of my patients in the future, especially since we've had some mutual patients and people trying to dip into more of the performance side of things. So yeah, I would just say, yeah, first off, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to do stuff like this for you and being a part of it and whatever I can do to help, obviously. So yeah, if anything comes up, then I think we'll probably have to hop on again and talk about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah, dude.
For all you guys listening, we're going to try to do another webinar in a few weeks, and we'll keep you posted. You can check that out on Instagram or check out more of our content on YouTube. So thank you again, Zach, and catch you later.